Invest in these super rare Pokemon cards before it's too late. Let's look at the numbers. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I hope you guys are doing well. Tonight's video is going to be a little bit different. We're not going to talk about 151 going crazy or Surging Sparks going to the moon. Invest now before it's too late. We are going to go deep down the rabbit hole, and we are going to talk about a super speculative Pokemon card investment that has the potential to be an absolute goldmine. And the best part is, most people don't even know these cards exist, let alone the potential that they have. So let's get into it, guys. I want to thank PokeNips for putting up a post that made me recognize these cards and start looking into them. And I want to thank Legends_of_Kanto, aka PokeKid, for sharing his knowledge. He has the largest collection I've been able to find of these cards out there. We spent some time on the phone. I really appreciate you giving up your time, my friend. So let's start off with this here. We got a $610 closed sale here for a Gengar VMAX on eBay. Now, this is confirmed paid. It closed out on October 23rd. This Gengar VMAX here is selling right now on TCG Player for somewhere in the region of $10, $11. And by the way, it's up 40% in the last 3 months. I should make a video about how that one's going crazy. Except this card that's sold on eBay here is not the same card that I'm seeing here on TCG Player. Can you guys spot the difference? It is, of course, the little stamp in the corner here. Now, some of you may know what this card already is, what this stamp means. It's from the Prize Pack series. For those of you that don't know, the Prize Pack series basically were put together by Pokemon. The first one released in, I think, November 2022. And it's like all the playable cards were put together and they chose the best ones. There's about 170 in a set. They gave them this stamp and then they give them out to people who play the game at their local card stores or, registered or accredited events. They come in these little booster packs. We're up to series or season 5 right now. There is another season coming very shortly. And these cards by Pokemon are designed to let players bling out their decks, have a little bit of recognition for winning and competing, and kind of get people enjoying the game. Inadvertently, what they have done, though, is created the rarest cards in Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet era, and in some cases, the rarest Pokemon cards of a specific Pokemon, arguably in all of the history of the TCG. And what we're seeing here, guys, on this Gengar is this one sold for $610 when on TCG Player, the stamped version is actually regularly, there's 3 sales in 3 months, but its market price is somewhere around $130. It sold for $610 because bids got jacked up. Somebody just had to have this card, and I have it on good authority that the person who needed this card promised their stream, they're a bigger YouTuber or a bigger streamer, they would have every single Gengar card in existence by the time Halloween rolled around. They had no idea this card even existed, and they were forced to go and bid this up. And this, guys, is where we're going to start to go into the sheer potential of this card, because people really don't know that these are out there. Or if they do, they've seen them and they haven't really clicked on as to how rare they are. My understanding from talking to Legends of Kanto is that the pull rates on these are super hard to get, and there just isn't that much product out there. If you think Pokemon are shipping these out to local card stores, maybe a case, maybe 2, or whatever it is at a time, they print them, they're done, and then they just move on. They don't go back and start printing them again. They don't re-release a bunch of inventory for Sam's Club or Costco or Target or Walmart. They don't do any of that stuff. Once they are printed, these are one and done, and then you can't get them anymore. And the print quality on these things, is really abysmal, not in a Joey Tribbiani kind of way. So Gengar VMAX here, you can see there are 18 copies that have been graded with PSA, and I'm just going to focus on PSA. 3 of them are PSA 10. That is an absolutely atrocious grading difficulty. Very, very hard to grade these things. And when you have a recipe where things are super hard to get, super hard to pull. By the way, Legend of Kanto says he opens like a case and finds like one of the big hits in them, and the print quality is really bad. You just have, like, I can just see this right now on a Golden or a, one of those, the Fine Card posts where they're like, Population 3, Playpack Series Gengar sells in a PSA 10 for $30,000. Like, I can see it happening because when guys realize that they can't get their true Fusion Strike Master Set without this card, down the road, they're like, okay, I need to go and get that. Or somebody like this streamer, let's say they're like, oh man, I need to get this. Or somebody who collects Gengars in a PSA 10, they're going to be like, wow, I need to go and get this, but there's only 3. There's a lot of money in this hobby, guys. There is a ton of money in this hobby, and there are crazy people that will just go and do that because they want to collect what they love, right? They want to collect what they love. Just for shits and giggles, we know the Gengar VMAX here, the real one, in case you guys are wondering, if I'm really high and I'm like, that's not the real Gengar VMAX. This one's kind of shooting out for Halloween, a little bit of Halloween tax on that one. But if you guys want to go and find this Gengar with the prize play stamp on it. The last sale I can find is from September. And beyond that, like, it's very hard to find any sales of this card out there. Very, very tricky to find. And there's only a few that have actually been sold for the year on TCG Player. Now, there is one for sale right here. It's going for $2,000. And there's only a handful of sellers that actually know what they have, by the way, on this side of things. Only a handful of sellers. So yeah, we got $2,000 on that one there. It's a bargain right now. Maybe it's a couple of years ahead of its time. But it's not just Gengar. And I don't just want to go and get carried away with Gengar, because they're actually, you know, if you take that $610 one out of the equation, there are actually some more expensive cards that are out there from the early series of these prize play cards. So first one's this Charizard VMAX from Darkness Ablaze. This one here, the regular version, we know this one, right? It's a $23 card. It got jacked up and now nobody really seems to care about it anymore. In the prize pack series, this one is a $400 card. And again, there's only one listing here, and it's as low as $2,700. So I think people are putting their prices up just a little bit ahead of their time. But again, it's not just the Gengar with the low population here. We look at this Charizard VMAX here. There are 71 that have been graded. Only 8 have received a PSA 10. Super hard cards to grade. As I understand it, the corners are either all matched up or it's super clean, but it's super off center. Then we have a Pikachu. Everyone loves Pikachu, right? There are guys out there that want to own every single Pikachu card, possibly in a PSA 10 as well. They would need to get one of these cards. Regular version of this from Vivid Voltage is a $3 card. The version of this card from the Prize Play Pack series is $279. And again, there's only a handful of sales because these cards are super hard to pull, super rare, and most people don't even know what they have. I mean, I'm hearing guys that say, they get them shipped out, they buy a regular version of this card, and the stamped one arrives. Like, people just don't seem to know what they have. And here's the population on this one as well. You've got 36 of these that have been graded, and only 3 have gained a PSA 10. That is exclusivity. That is exclusivity there, guys. Umbreon VMAX. Move over Moonbreon. We've got the Umbreon VMAX from Revolving Skies. Regular version is $8. The Prize Play Series version on this card is a whopping $141. And again, guys, on this one, we don't have a lot of PSA 10s. There's 4 of them. And this is not going to skyrocket all of a sudden. These cards are hard to find. You go shopping for them. Try and find them. It is a challenge to go and get them, like finding a Tauros in the Safari Zone in Pokemon Red. Now, there is some criticism of these cards. Before we go into some of the other ones that are available that I think might be good shouts right now, some people just don't think the stamp is very cool. They think it's like Major League Baseball, which, let's face it, nobody likes baseball, right? It's not a very cool sport. Like, nobody's into baseball, but that's what people say. They're like, yeah, the logo doesn't look very cool. Like, I'm really sorry, guys. Like, they could put Kamala Harris's left butt cheek in a stamp on these cards, and it would still be super rare. The stamp isn't that important in terms of what's printed on it. What's important is the fact that it is there. Rarity still matters in this hobby, and you are starting to see that right now with these Pokemon Center stamp promos. Like, look at this Charmander. You guys know this story already. It's everywhere. But look, a couple of months ago, nobody even had any idea about this. This is a $43 card, and now it's skyrocketed up 71% to $72 because people have realized it's hard to grade, it's difficult to get the PSA 10s, and there just aren't that many out there considering it's a mass-produced era. 9 billion, 13 billion cards printed, and all of that jazz. The stamp is very important, and I believe that you will see people all of a sudden wake up to these cards, and because there are very few, the bids will get driven up and new market prices will get set at all-time highs, and it will just continue to kind of climb from there on these cards. And there are quite a few of these cards out there. Now, I think they're not getting a lot of attention because they're not alternate art cards. The alt art cards are grabbing all the headlines. Arguably, the alt art cards are, the best artworks, but there are still some phenomenal artworks here of some of the fan favorite Pokemon. Like, if I was going to pick some of these cards up right now, and I am starting to look for them now, is this Rayquaza VMAX. Like, this is an absolutely gorgeous card. It's $68. $68 here for one of the early series of the prize packs. This Rayquaza is gorgeous. You've got the Mew, which is from the most recent. And this one is going already at $55, $60. It's up 70% in the last 3 months. People love Mew, people love 151. We talked about master sets. People are going to want to do their master sets, and they're going to realize, hey, we need to get this Mew card. There's a lot more sales volume on these cards right now because this is a more recent series, right? There's lots more of this product out there at this moment in time changing hands. You've also got the Lugia, and I say Lugia as it's fun to stay at the YMC Lugia. This Lugia and this are the rarest Lugia cards you can find because of this stamp. You should be looking at these cards, in my opinion, as a speculative play. I am looking at them as well. You've got this cute little Sylveon V here as well. You've also got this Blaziken VMAX. I want to give these cards some love because there are tremendous artworks here. They're cards that people aren't tremendously excited to pull from these Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet era cards sets. But because of this stamp, all of a sudden they are slingshotted into the stratosphere and they are incredibly rare, incredibly important cards that are just flying completely under the radar. Now, before we wrap up, guys, there is a counter argument here. The counter argument, aside from the stamp, right, aside from Kamala Harris's butt cheek, the stamp is one thing, but this hobby doesn't always equate rarity with value. That doesn't always happen. I mean, look at Larry from Paradox Rift. There aren't that many PSA 10s of Larry, but he's not all of a sudden a super rare card. In this case, though, guys, I do genuinely believe it is going to work out. It is already starting to happen. People are already starting to go crazy for their fan favorite Pokemon. They are going to come back to this era. They're going to come back and realize they need these cards. The supply is very limited, and that is when the powder keg is going to go off. If I were you guys, outside of all this rarity stuff, it's just going to be really fun to hunt and go for these cards. If you can find them at shows, if you can spend your time on eBay or TCG Player, or wherever you buy your cards from, trying to find them, there's a real chase there as well, which I think is pretty epic. So I wanted to share this with you guys. I think there is real potential here in these cards. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And until next time, take it easy.